Okay, so I can pull this up quickly on my phone. I should have had this stuff printed. Okay, the next speaker recently started his already distinguished career in the great state of Texas. He was born and raised in Atlanta, but got to Texas as fast as he could. He served in the 1st Infantry Division.
Blah, blah, blah.
Whoa, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you. We got no time for all that propaganda. Hey, first and foremost, every young person here, the age of 12 or younger, I want you to come up right along here. Please. 12 or younger. Come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. 12 or younger. Come on. Mommies, daddies, grandparents, give them up. Have a seat. Have a seat. Just sit down. Chill. Because, you know, one of the things it says in the Bible in Proverbs 22:6, it says, train up a child in the way that they should go so that when they grow old, they shall not depart from it. And that's the important thing about having our young children and our grandchildren here on a day such as today. Because when you think about the purpose, the task, the mission of this is the Texas Freedom Force, to stand up and make sure that we protect and preserve our history, to make sure that our monuments are protected so that future generations can enjoy them. Because it was in the late 1920s that a man by the name of George Santayana once said, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And when we look at all of this cancel culture that is going on, what they are doing is they're taking away the legacy of liberty and freedom and truth and justice for our future generations. That's why we need This Is Texas Freedom Force to stand up and preserve history for these young men and these young women. You know, Brandon always comes out and says, you know, this whole thing about, you know, he wasn't born here, but he got here as fast as he could. Every time you go around someone, one of these, well, I'm a 6th generation Texan. I'm a 7th generation. I'm a 100th generation Texan. Okay, all right. But let me tell you something. I was born and raised in Georgia. One of the early flags of Texas was the Troutman flag. They had liberty or death on it. The Troutman flag was done by a little girl from Macon, Georgia. If you look here on this Cenotaph Memorial, there are the names of 5 Georgians that are there. The first vice president of the Republic of Texas was a guy by the name of Mirabeau Lamar from Georgia. The first Secretary of War for the Republic of Texas was a guy by the name of Thomas Jefferson Rusk. And not too far away, down the road, the place called Goliad, there was another Georgian who unfortunately, along with his men, James Fannin, was massacred and executed. See, the thing about Texas, the thing about liberty and freedom, much the same as the state senator talked about, it draws people to it. And I remember as a little kid sitting down with my dad in our home, 651 Kennesaw Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And this movie came on. And I sat there right next to my dad. John Wayne was in that movie. Richard Widmark was in that movie. Lawrence Harvey was in that movie. And it was called The Alamo. And I was just taken aback that there would be men who would stand on principle, stand on character, stand, and when that line was drawn in the sand, knowing what it meant, they would step across that line to say that we will make that ultimate sacrifice, that last full measure of devotion for something that is so special, because we want to pass it on to subsequent generations. And so as it was, when I graduated high school, I got the opportunity to go to this other UT on the other side of the Mississippi River. The UT whose nickname came from those 30 some odd who gave their lives right here. See, when you set foot up on Rocky Top in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you get that title as a Tennessee volunteer, you learn where that name came from. You learn of those men who traveled all the way here because they said, we will stand on these ramparts for liberty and freedom. And one of those favored sons of the great state of Tennessee, he and I also share a little something, a little history, because we're both former members of Congress. And I think that when you look over there, you can see that incredible standing stature. A former member of the United States House of Representatives, David Crockett, who famously said when he lost his congressional re-election, "May you all go to hell, I'm going to Texas." And I kind of repeated that after I had a little congressional election stolen from me in the state of Florida. And that's why I'm honored to be here, because men and women are drawn to the sound of the guns, the call to arms, the call to battle. And if you understand what is happening in our country, in our state right now, there is a call to arms and a fight. It was once said that there are two most important days in your life. It's the day that you were born. For me, February the 7th of 1961. And it's the day that you find out why. Each and every one of us needs to ask ourselves, what is that second most important day in our lives? Because the men who stood here, they knew what that second most important day in their life was. It was on this day, or this morning, March the 6th of 1836, when they said, "This we'll defend." Before they knew that there would be a Texas, they didn't even know that on March the 2nd, a Republic of Texas had been established, but they were willing to lay down their lives for it. What are you going to be willing to do, as State Senator Huffine said? What will be that second most important day in your life? These names, these men are looking down upon each and every one of us in this moment in time. And they're asking us to do one single thing. Don't forget us. Don't reimagine us, but remember us.
Hear, hear.
I'll close on this point. Life is not about what you do and what you achieve and what you are enabled to accomplish yourself. Life is about what you pass on to the generations that follow after you. The true measure of who we are, Brandon, is not that we are standing here today. It's whether or not these young boys and girls will be standing here 50 years from today.
Right.
We stand beneath the shadow of heroes. But I also want to recognize a hero that is with us here right now. A little bit of history. A Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War, Major General Patrick Henry Brady. Our schools don't teach our kids about real heroes. Our schools don't teach our kids about sacrifice and service. It's our responsibility to do that. And if we can just take the time to train up our children in the way that they should go, then the greatness that was established on these hallowed grounds 185 years ago will continue on for another 185 years. God bless you all, and remember the Alamo.
Give it up for Lieutenant Colonel Alan West.